for when I'm a billionaire.
Yeah, I would have a show like Oprah. I would be the host of Everyday Christmas.
Morning, welcome back to Breakfast. It's 14 minutes to 8. Money, it's something that many of us feel the pinch of. Bank fees and profits are up and interest rates have been rising, widening the retirement savings gap. Someone who knows about it all too well is Managing Director of Kiwisaver Fund Simplicity, Sam Stubbs. So we've partnered with Simplicity to learn more about what it means and the impact. Morena.
Good morning.
I was looking at $7 billion in profits last year the banks made,
Yeah.
Sam. They're doing pretty well.
They're doing exceptionally well. In fact, by global standards, they're doing incredibly well. I think New Zealand's the only country in the world where the four most profitable companies are banks, the four biggest banks. So they really are milking it, and they have been doing so for a while now.
Meanwhile, if you ask any of our viewers, even those who are reasonably well off, they will still tell you that they are feeling the pinch.
They really are feeling the pinch right now. I mean, you've got, you know, if you were someone who had a mortgage and you got a mortgage at, say, 2% a couple of years ago, and now it's up around 6 or 7%, that takes an awful lot of money out of your household income, right? It's really painful.
And banks have hiked mortgage rates in the last week.
Yeah,
well.
look, they can choose to pay what they want to on term deposits and mortgage rates, and of course they are there to make a profit, and we want them to be profitable and want them to be strong. But we're into the sort of the super profit area now, which is why the government has announced this inquiry into what they're doing.
We're going to get to some advice shortly, but the Reserve Bank is expected to pause the OCR today. Talk us through what we are looking at today.
Yeah, look, pretty much everybody thinks that they should pause right now. I mean, everybody's noticing that the economy is slowing down right now. Things are just getting tougher. So the inflationary pressures aren't there in the way they used to be. And there's a whole lot of things like global shipping rates and so on that have gone back to their pre-COVID levels right now. So there's not a lot of obvious inflation in the system right now. The Reserve Bank are we think, are very likely to say, OK, we're just going to hit the pause button right now. If they don't, and if they raise rates, I think that's going to be a real kick in the guts for a lot of people.
The light at the end of the tunnel is still a wee way off for people though, right?
Yeah, it is.
So if we're looking at what Kiwis can actually do right now to help them get ahead when they're feeling the pinch the way that they are, what are some of the key things that people can be doing?
Look, there's some really simple things to do. First of all, is understand what you spend money on, right? So do a budget. Sit down and say, this is what it cost me, and then find the ways of saving money. There are lots of little ways of saving money. We all have our little things that we indulge in, you know. One extra coffee a day and so on and so forth.
I might be guilty of it myself.
So we can make some changes there as well. The other thing we need to think about though is that this is an interesting time, because when economies go down and share markets go down and so on, effectively investments go on sale. So if you are saving a little bit every week, you're actually getting to buy things at very good prices over the long term. And if you save a little, you get the benefit of compounding interest. Albert Einstein called compounding interest the 8th wonder of the world, and here's why. If you started out on the day you were born, if your parents set up a Kiwisaver account, they just put $5 a day in. Even if they can't afford $5 a day, get the grandparents and the whānau in. $5 a day ends up being, in a high growth fund, ends up being $95,000 by the time you're 25.
Wow.
That's a big first home deposit, right? That's all about compounding interest and saving a little. So even though you think things are tightening up right now, just make sure you're saving a little bit every day. And then that $95,000 you can end up buying a house. But if you didn't end up buying a house, you'd actually have $250,000 when you were in retirement. Now that buys you a lot of choices, a lot of dignity in life, right? So in these tough times, you've got to trim some spending, but also just think about saving a little bit. Doesn't have to be a lot, doesn't have to be dramatic.
Because it's hard, right? When we're in the cost of living crisis like we are at the moment, people are very focused on the now, but how crucial is it that they do remind themselves that there's a long way to go in life and they've got to be thinking about what's coming in the future?
Yeah, we really do, right? Because even though you retire at 65, the average lifespan of a New Zealander is now getting into the mid and high 80s, right? So you've got to fund your retirement for at least 20 years, and that's the average lifespan. Some people live a lot longer than that, right? Are you going to rely on the government to do that for you when you retire, or are you actually going to take control of it and start saving a little bit of money yourself? Kiwisaver's set up for that. It's a great scheme. We're not saving enough. I think as a country we have to up our Kiwisaver contribution rates as they do elsewhere in the world. But here's the other great thing. Look, every $20 you put in, up to $1,042, the government gives you $10. Right, this is free money. So even if you save $20 a week in your Kiwisaver account and you're over 18, the government's going to give you $10 of free money. It's great.
Here's the thing, though. I don't know that enough Kiwis know about their Kiwisaver fund.
No, they
either don't know who they're with, they don't know what kind of a rate they're on.
Yeah.
Do we need a better education system around our Kiwisaver?
Yeah, look, we absolutely do. Look, 3 million people have got Kiwisaver accounts, but 1 million people don't put anything in, right? Now, we know sometimes you can't afford to do it. You have to go into some sort of pause, but you should really try not to do that. You should really keep your contributions up. Make sure you know what fund you're in, because the difference between being in the right fund and the wrong fund when you retire can be tens and in some cases hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, you can go onto the Sorted website. Government's got a great website. You just have to answer 3 questions and you'll find out whether you're in the right fund, and just make sure you're contributing something, even if it's $1 a day. Just get going, get into that savings habit, and then you'll have an awful lot more choices and an awful lot more dignity when you retire.
Is there a light at the end of the tunnel, Sam?
Oh, there really is.
Okay,
Look, New Zealand is about to go into about 30 years, the best 30 years of its history. We are saving money now, right? We have never been savers. We've always saved by buying a house, but now we've got Kiwisaver. We've got $80 billion saved in Kiwisaver. That's going to turn into hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. That gets invested back in the economy and companies.
Love it. Sam Stubbs, thank you so much for being with us. That's Sam Stubbs joining us from Simplicity. Really appreciate your time and your insight this morning.
Thank you very much.
Whakaekene coming up. An entire wharanui has been crocheted. Stick around to see it next.